assessment in the spring.
One question, is Common Core federal or is that state?
The federal government is backing away a little bit from saying these are national standards, but it is made up of, and the state is adopting it. It has adopted it a few years ago. So they're known as the Common Core state standards.
Thank you.
All right, so now, and we'll try to be quicker on this, because I know this is a lot. And I don't want anyone to hate the Common Core, or for you to feel like you're in school tonight. All right. Because Common Core is a little scary, but we like it. Okay. So, the Common Core, oh, I have copies if you want. No, not enough. So it was a joint initiative of the National Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officials. It was a huge undertaking, and I believe between states and territories, there are currently 49 on board. There were a few states that did not opt to do this. I know Texas was one, and I can't remember who the few others were. But it's looking to define the knowledge and skills that students should have. It's in math and language arts. And it includes, this is that change at the bottom, literacy and history, social studies, science, and technical subjects is a switch. And so why did they do this? The feeling that every state having their own standards really brought too much inconsistency as people traveled. Students were learning different content at different times. And they really shifted the language at that third bullet, prepare students for college and careers. That no child left behind language is shifting to college and career ready. And what they mean, go ahead.
But there's no science in this? Is that
There is
math
no
language?
science in this yet. There is a new set of science standards that are being developed. It's called Next Generation Science. And last Friday, our district was asked to participate in a review of that. I don't know what the state's going to do. I don't know if they're going to adopt it. I don't know.
So for right now, we're just talking math and language arts?
Yes. However, the language arts piece goes into science, social studies, and everything else. And we'll get to that.
Thank you.
So college and career ready, they're looking for strong content knowledge. And the idea that you respond to demands of an audience, a task, a purpose. It's about, not only is it comprehending, but they want you to critique something. You know, more kinds of things that you would do when you're in college and getting ready for careers. Using technology and digital media strategically and capably, understanding others' perspectives. So that's sort of the foundation. The criteria, fewer, clearer, higher. There's more rigor involved in this. The rigor include rigorous content and application. Again, it gets at all that higher order thinking. There were, the information surrounding the Common Core says that employers are complaining that the young hires they're making do not have these skills.
What does fewer mean?
Fewer means fewer. So fewer standards, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Fewer standards. They took things out, more so in math than in. So for instance, they took out data, statistics, and probability from K through 5. and put it in 6th grade. They took out more in math than they took out in language arts.
And that kind of goes against everyday math, doesn't it?
It
Where we
goes a little bit,
a little
yeah.
everything. Okay.
Yep, it does.
Okay.
And that will be a challenge for us. They looked at all the high-performing countries. What were they doing? That was definitely one of the things the high-performing countries were doing. Fewer, clearer, higher expectations. So the first piece is language arts. The reading standards are somewhat the same except for number 4 in the red box. That's text complexity. Text complexity means, and you would think that we already do this. How could you not do this? That you have very complex text at every grade level. And it gets harder as it goes on. But what that also means is that they expect all students, all of your at-risk students, your special ed students, to be exposed somehow to very complex text. The standards for the blue ones, standards for speaking and listening, are brought back. They used to be in our frameworks about 10, 12 years ago, and now they're brought back. And again, they're looking for presentation of knowledge and ideas. And the last one that's new is the orange one on the bottom. Literacy in history, social studies, science, and technical subjects. So the changes are a balance between literature and information. Between kindergarten and 4th grade, 50% literature, 50% informational text. And I think we have a slide about that. The text complexity, the inclusion of speaking and listening. The standards for reading and writing in history, social studies, science, and technical subjects will be a change for all of our teachers who just teach social studies or science. So here's the text complexity. If you look at the old Lexile ranges, and a Lexile range for this purpose, if you're in grade 2 or 3, this is sort of the readability, the level of complexity. So it used to end at 725, and you can see it's jumping to 790. For grades 4 and 5 from 845 to 980. Grades 6 through 8 from 1010 to 1155, and so on and so forth. So you can see the expectations for students are higher.
Is text complexity as simple as it sounds? It's just harder reading, bigger words?
It's harder reading, more complex thoughts. They're really looking at, when they talk about career ready, they're looking at some kind of complex manual that you would have in a job, that you would have to be able to read and interpret and write about or speak about for other people. And here is the emphasis on informational, and that's where you see more, having students read more informational text. You see by 8th grade, it's no longer 50-50. And by the end of high school, it's almost all informational text. And sorry about this, we couldn't find a math slide that didn't seem to be a little out of whack, no matter where we looked, but the changes in math are, we have now 8 standards for mathematical practice. So they talk about, what they consider habits of mind of how you approach math. So, for instance, make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. Construct a variety of arguments and critique what is that word, Karen? Can you see that? The reasoning of others. And so that's what they're looking for, and that's what they mean by a little bit of the rig, this is where the rigor is higher. You have to do more, you have to think in a way that's more complex. When it came to the mathematical content, they really decided what should be taught at every grade level. And that's where you see the difference between everyday math and the Common Core expectations. So you're looking at a focus of key topics at every grade level, a balance of concepts and skills. And here they want you not only to have conceptual understanding, but they want you to know your math facts and be fluent in those. All of those procedural things, and there's an emphasis on that again. So the changes are those standards of practice across all grade levels, and then the mathematical content. I think this will show you. So these are the priorities by grade level spans of what they see as important, and then they see K-8 as the foundation for all the other math that you will learn and do.
Question. This is research-based, and I'm assuming everyday math was research-based.
Right.
So, but it seems as though they come to...
They're at odds.
Very much, yeah. And I just kind of wondering, where do we sit now that we've had, or maybe you can't answer this question at this moment, but are we kind of coming around that this is what we like, or are we still saying that everyday math was a better approach?
I think that there's a balance. About 2 years ago, we made some changes to the implementation of everyday math. I don't know if people remember, Dana might remember, I don't know, David from the budget committee, if you remember when we first talked about doing curriculum maps. And we made some changes then based upon some of our NECAP scores about, do we need to provide more time on this at this grade level? And then how do we handle some of those fluency issues of kids being automatic in some of the procedures of math? So although no math program is going to be perfect, I think that one of the things we saw with everyday math, it included some of those habits of mind that we were not doing before. I do believe personally that having a foundation in the early grades on number sense is sort of like having a foundation in reading what we talk about, which is phonemic awareness and phonics, that you really need those to be able to do your higher order skills both in reading and math. So I think that this is clear. I think that the reason we like these standards is that there are fewer standards, teachers are able to teach them more in depth, students are able to practice them.
So let me ask the $64,000 question.
I think that's a little low.
Unfortunately. So is everyday math likely to survive and be modified, or is it so far out that it's
I don't know. As I said before, the publishers are telling us, every publisher is saying that they are aligned with the Common Core. So, no matter what we do, we have to look and see. We are doing a full-scale math review starting July 1st. I suspect that there will be